The future is brighter than ever, and here are 10 reasons why. Hey guys, it's John. I'm here in my studio on a beautiful Saturday morning drinking my lovely mug of coffee. And that's one of the reasons why the future is brighter than ever. That's not one of the 10. I'm just joking. um, I wanted to talk about this. Right now there's doom and gloom all over the place. People are talking about it on YouTube. They're talking about it on the news. They're talking about the struggles and strives of the world. I wanted to hop on and talk about why the future is brighter than ever. We live in a predominantly positive world, and most people don't realize that we do. If I were to have a 9 to 5 office job in Cleveland, about a half an hour north of my house here, and I commuted every day up to Cleveland and back, I would probably pass 1,000 cars on the road on the way to Cleveland. Once a day, maybe, probably not even once a day, but let's just say once a day. I'll see the results of an accident. Somebody messed up and hit the median or did something that messed up something. Tonight on the news, that accident is going to be there, and it's going to be showing you this terrible thing that happened on the highway on the way to work, and it's going to be just this horrible thing and how it backed up traffic and all this stuff. What the news isn't going to say is that 999 cars made it safely to their destination without a single issue. They got there, they went to work, they had their experience, it was all good, they left work, they drove home, no problems. 999 cars. Our world is predominantly positive. Things are going right most of the time. I've told the story before about how I was doing my spiritual work for a very long time, and I left because everyone was too invested in my past life story instead of hearing what I was teaching. I felt as if my work was not being helpful. People were not actually taking what I was saying and putting it into implementation to change their lives, to step into their own power, to basically awaken to the power within themselves. And so I left the spiritual communities and I went into the corporate world, teaching the exact same stuff, just with a different vocabulary. I felt like I was more effective there because I was actually empowering the people who didn't feel empowered at a place where they were almost designed not to make people feel empowered, the corporate world. When COVID hit, it was a big shift for me. And I came back to spiritual work and was amazed at the shift in humanity. Humanity had started awakening and they started searching for their own power within. They stopped looking outside. The majority of the people I talked to, they're really about how to find their own way. And to me, that was beautiful. It was wonderful. It was a really positive sign that we're leading into a bright future. So these are just some of the ideas, but let's talk about 10 other reasons why we should be hopeful for a bright future. Our future is our children. And, my son, he's 20 now. His class, as they came up, they weren't racist, they weren't sexist, they were literally a much more inclusive and egalitarian sort of atmosphere. They just treated everyone equally and everyone the same. My son has no issues talking to anybody anywhere. He doesn't look at race, creed, color, or sexual orientation. He just is, and his whole class is that way. So this younger group that's coming up, this younger generation that's coming into our future, that is our future, is much more egalitarian, much more equal, much more believing in the collective goodness in all of us. And you'll see that in like the Parkland shooting kids and how they said no more, and they just started stepping into driving social change and dealing with climate decisions and social. You look at the Afghan woman who young woman who stepped up against and spoke out. Well, I think her name was Malia, the young woman who came out about climate change. I mean, you see these young people stepping up and driving the change that's coming into the world. Um, you see the younger generation stepping up and saying these things that are just not loving, just not caring, and are harming people are not right. And they're getting loud and they're making their voices known. Well, what's the result of that? The result of that is they are over driving the movement for change. They're pushing it to the place where we are changing. And because they are the generation that will be, in fact, living through that, they have every right to do so, and they are stepping up and saying, okay, no more hate, no more inequality, no more telling us, what we can do with our bodies. They're stepping up and they're literally saying, we are creating a different future. And so that is the number one reason to be hopeful of the 10 is our younger generation. They're amazing and they're stepping up and doing beautiful, beautiful changes in the world. And so remember that the number one reason is always going to be our next generation. The other thing is we know that our world is got, issues and countries are being hit by tsunamis and hurricanes and tornadoes. And just north of me, just a week or so ago, there was a couple of tornadoes spotted just half a mile north of my house. And, no matter what you think about the Paris Accords, um, that's the whole global community coming together to combat air pollution and climate change, and they're coming together to as a world, a global cooperation. So you see the global cooperation, and just like in small societies, even or small countries like the United States, right? Yes, we're a fairly big country, but compared to the world, we're all small, right? We have these people pushing for change, and the people who are fighting against it are the ones who are making money the other way. And what's happening right now is you're finding that all of the countries all over the world are coming together to clean the air, to clean the water, to make those change, and they're coming together with international agreements and innovative solutions uh, to bring down the carbon emissions and all those things. So the fact that there is a global cooperation on this topic is huge, and it's a beautiful reason to think that the world is getting brighter and better, because now it's not just one country inside of its borders; it's the world cooperating. And like I said, the countries who make their money off of oil and gas and all of those things, they're kind of struggling with that, but that's just because they're not making the shift into the next thing that's going to make them good money. But if you look right now, you're going to find all kinds of innovations that are coming out that from all over the world that are going to change the world dramatically and for a much more beautiful outcome. Number 3 on the top 10 list is improved health globally. There have been medical advancements, vaccines, whatever you think of them, treatments for diseases, increasing life expectancy and quality of life worldwide. We are living longer. We are living healthier. We are learning the things that are harming our bodies, and we are adapting and changing. Things are coming to light where companies were saying this is what you need to eat, and you're finding out that the studies were driven by companies trying to create bigger profits as opposed to actually looking into the physical health of the people. Well, right now, globally, Hippocrates is winning. Every doctor in the world takes the Hippocratic Oath, the one that says, "Do no harm." But it was Hippocrates who said, "Let food be your remedy." And so, what's happening right now, especially in the nutrition elements of health, people are discovering the things that make them healthier, make them feel better, and there's various ideas. But I'm not sure there's 100% um, solution for all people. I think some people are coming from bloodlines from warmer climates, and some people are coming from bloodlines from colder climates, and their physical body is adapted to it. My DNA says that I'm from Ireland, Scotland, Wales, England, and a smidge of French. Well, those are cold climates in the wintertime, which means there's not a lot of fruit and vegetables in that time of the year. So I have discovered my body thrives on more of a carnivore diet and eating more meat and fats and things. But that's what where I come from would have eaten. That's the very natural. And what's happening right now is in the health industry, they're finding that food is the remedy, just like Hippocrates said. And so that idea that we can create that health within ourselves and choose to live a healthier life is now showing out in the data. People are living longer. People are having changes in their health and experience. And so that's a huge shift that's going on in the world right now. But that's a global consciousness shift. People are literally taking control of their own health, their own life experience, and it's happening all over the world. And that's another reason to really create uh, joy and hope for your future. 4, right now, if you look at your news, some of it sounds really terrible, some of it sounds really horrible. But if you look at what's really happening, there's a shift towards treating people more equally and movements advocating for human rights, and they're gaining momentum daily. And what's happening, not only are they gaining momentum daily, but the people who are angry and fighting against them are losing their grips. They're losing their foundation. And what's happening is the people who are moving into this next level of awareness where we're all treated equal, we're all treated with human rights, we're coming up and we're just not taking it. They're just not taking it. And they're just refusing to be bitter or nasty, but we're saying, no, this is the bright future and this is what we're going for. And so there's a rising awareness, of social injustice or justice all over the world. And there's actions being taken. There are organizations being created. There are people all over the world moving to create a more loving and caring world on each side of every argument. And so when it comes down to looking at our whole global experience, there's this awareness arising all over the world, and people are absolutely moving towards equality and the ability for everyone to have their rights. Human rights and equality are gaining momentum all over the world. That to me is one of the most beautiful experiences we're having, and evidences that a bright future is right around the corner because the global community is coming together. Number 5, renewable energy. Now, this is a contestable topic with various sides of the political structures, but when you look at renewable energy, wind, solar, and other renewable energy sources, it's incredible to see the changes in our world. Just a few years ago, Tesla was the only electric car. Now you've got Lucid, and you've got Rivian, you've got Hummer. Ford has electric cars. Toyota has electric cars. BMW has electric cars. They're finding ways. Now, people will argue whether the electric car is actually good for cleaning the earth. But what's happening now is because people are shifting into these electric vehicles. When they first came out, you had like a 50-mile range. Now they've got over 400 miles on many of these cars, and Tesla says that they're going to have 1,000-mile radius on one of their cars, 1,000-mile range on one of their cars. So it's coming, it's growing, it's getting faster, right? We're getting less and less. Now people say, well, how's the electricity found? Well, solar, wind. There's one solar technology that if it gets adopted, it will change the world, and that is solar roads. This gentleman had invented this solar road idea. And what's so interesting about the solar road is it's 4x4 panels that drop into the road. You never have to paint lines on the road because they're done with lights. And you can literally go in, punch your pad, and the lines will change whoever you need them to change to do whatever you need to do. If one of the panels gets damaged, you can go in and remove the one panel and put it down. It's stronger than asphalt over time. They last longer over time. They have the ability to melt snow and ice, so you lose the need for plowing the highways. And so that whole dropping salt everywhere and trucks and all that stuff goes away because the roads themselves. But imagine if every road in the United States or in the world was collecting solar energy. You could easily stop using oil and gas and everything else. That technology itself would give us enough energy to power our entire country. And, people say, well, yeah, the batteries. Well, that's the next part of this. If you look right now on YouTube, they're talking, right now we're on lithium. Now they're talking about sand batteries that seem to not only charge faster, but are better, but and have more power than lithium, but they last longer. And because they're sand, they're completely renewable. They don't have this damaging lithium in them. It's sand. And so they're discovering that sand is now a better conductive material for these batteries, and that they are lighter, they charge faster, and they hold more energy and more power, which will increase ranges on cars as well. I remember when I first started watching homestead shows on YouTube. I was watching a channel, and they were putting up a solar array to run their lights and stuff like that. And 8-10 years ago, it was like hit and miss, the solar. Now, one of the shows I watch, they run air conditioners, washers and dryers. They run their entire house. They run their network. Their house is completely off grid, and you would never know it living in it. But they have a solar array out in their field, and they have a solar building with all their batteries that's heated and keeping those batteries healthy. And they're just living this beautiful experience. And when everybody else around them loses power, they are completely still functioning. Their farm animals are safe. All their pumps are still working. Everything's still good because they are generating their own renewable energy. The changes that are happening right now as we shift from one to the other, and we are shifting. People might deny that we're shifting, but the fact that I can go buy an electric Hummer tells me that we're shifting in a big way. And the prices of those cars are going to come down, and houses are starting to get not only solar panels on the roof, but now solar shingles. You won't even be able to see the solar panels. It'll just look like a shingled roof. We are growing into this renewable energy, and it's growing all over the world. The sixth reason to be hopeful for a bright future is that extreme poverty globally has been declining, and more people are gaining access to education, healthcare, economic opportunities. All over the world, people are getting more abundant everywhere. They're discovering that this global community is helpful. People can go anywhere in the world and work from remote places. They can start businesses in poverty countries online, and they can start creating wealth and start changing things. And you look at the way things are moving, because of those decreases in poverty, and it has statistically been steadily declining. But people are getting more healthcare and economic opportunities. They are able to then thrive in the world, which makes for a happier community, which makes for a healthier community, and everybody is getting ahead a little bit more. They may not be where they want to be yet, but just look at the statistics. The statistics show that poverty is declining globally. And when you look at it from that perspective, you have to understand when a ship is at sea, and a big, giant cargo ship is at sea, and it decides to turn, it turns the wheel long before the ship turns, because the ship has to fight against the momentum that was already going in the direction it was already going. So it has to then start pushing and changing that direction. So it takes a long time for a ship to turn. It's the same thing with our changes in the world. We start doing the things, we start being the change we want to see in the world, and the ship begins to turn. We start to see a different outcome. And so that really comes down to the idea that since everyone is getting less and less poverty, everyone's getting more and more happy. And the people who aren't or are focusing on doom and gloom and those people are doing terrible things to me and blah, 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 they're not focusing on the positive outcome. Remember the story of Mother Teresa. She said she would never go to an anti-war rally, but have a pro-peace rally and she'd come. So us focusing on changing to this more beautiful, peaceful, loving, caring world, we've turned the rudders of the ship, and the ship is slowly turning to that direction. And we're seeing it. Now we're seeing this evidence of a poverty declining. We're seeing evidence of a younger generation coming up that are changing the world in a big way, that are just literally being different, being a more beautiful world, and not accepting the negativity and the hate and the anger from the others. Number 7, advancements in technology. Advancements in technology. People are afraid of AI, and people are, some people are afraid of renewable energy or biotechnologies. But when you look at what they're actually doing, they're making our life easier. They're making our world more clean. They're creating a world that is easier, healthier, and more sustainable. And when you think about just what's happened in our lifetime, when I was a kid, we had rotary phones. When cell phones came out, I was one of the first guys in my group to get one, because it was like I was on the road traveling, and having a cell phone meant that I could talk to people in my family. I had better connection with people in the world, because now doing Renaissance festivals, traveling, I wasn't succumbing to having to go to a payphone, which I was doing before. Now I had a cell phone. I could talk to them anytime, anywhere. I also had a pager, which was an interesting thing, right? Now, if you think about where we are now, we have a computer in our pocket that allows us to search things, to look up directions. It changes our entire experience of life, everything. How many of you remember paper maps? Now you just look at your phone and you type in where you want to go, or you just click up the microphone button and say, this is the address, navigate to this. And it starts showing you and giving you those directions. Everything is being streamlined and getting easier and easier, healthier, more sustainable. Healthier, like I said, the advancements in technology have increased our lifespan as well. So advancements in technology are absolutely a beautiful reason to think that the world is changing for the better. Even like I was talking about in renewable energy, the battery technologies that are coming up are shifting into this more beautiful expression, right? The changes in cars, houses are much more efficient than they were before. Their insulation is better. When I was a kid, you use plywood on the outside of your framing of a home. Now they're using these zip systems that have the house wrap and everything all built in. Everything is changing for the better. On top of that as well, those advancements in technology, out past the West Coast and the North, there's the island of plastic trash out there. There's now a company that goes out there and collects that trash and is now recycling that trash. And they've created these gigantic devices that go up there, collect it, bring it in, separate it, get it all hauled in, and all that recyclable material is now starting to be recycled. There's a couple of guys who wanted to clean the ocean, so they started selling bands and little wrist things, and every one of them is made from the stuff they've cleaned out of the ocean. When you look at what's going on in the world, it's an amazing experience. When I went to some of the third world countries with the USO, I was amazed how dirty everything was. I came back to America, I was amazed how clean everything was. My son just went to Japan and he came back to America. He's amazed how dirty everything was. We're cleaning our world up. We're getting our world more efficient at cleaning. We're creating an easier, healthier life. And what happens is, you don't feel dirty when you're in a clean city. You don't feel dirty. You don't get all stressed out by people running and trying to do all these things in a city that's organized or that's not stressed out about the things, and they're just um, keeping their city clean. They're changing all the, and these are all advancements in technology. Um, what's so interesting about it is that when we when we look at the changes that are happening in the world and understanding that global poverty is coming down, and these advancements in technology now give us the ability to have that one guy who's sitting in the middle of the desert in Africa to be able to use his cell phone to talk to someone on the other side of the world about how to make his life better and how to change it, or watch YouTube videos and how to create solar technology where he is. So now he has a greater experience. The advancements in technology are a global phenomenon because when I traveled through Egypt, everybody I talked to had a cell phone, even the Bedouins in the middle of the desert, and their technology was better than ours. Every one of their phones looked like one of our normal cell phones, but they were satellite phones, every one of them. And my ex-wife's uncle had a brother who he his job was putting up cell phone towers, and he made good money. And I asked him, I said, why don't we have the satellite system like they have in Egypt? And just seems like a better system. He says, oh, it's a much better system, but the United States is too invested in towers. Well, eventually, that's what's coming. We're all going to have these phones that can talk from anywhere with no dropout. It allows the world to connect in a bigger and broader way. And that's going to make us more and more of a global community. And that global community is going to save the planet. And the younger generation coming up is going to lead the way to that more global community that's changing the world in magnificent ways. Number 8. The scientific discoveries that we are making right now are amazing, incredible, actually. If you think about what's happening in the world, the James Webb Telescope, which I was very blessed to have been able to see in the room when they were building it. My brother worked at the Goddard Space and Flight Center, so I saw the James Webb before it left the Earth, and that is showing us more and more of our broad universe. It's showing us that some of our ideas about the beginning of the universe might have been wrong. It's showing us greater possibilities, and that's just one of the amazing scientific innovations. We're discovering that other planets have these vast resources and the possibility of life. It's showing us that we're not alone in the universe. There is more likely the probability of life than the improbability. The fact that we are just a small planet in a vast universe is one of the most beautiful things to learn, because we're only responsible for our small world. And the more we think about of our small world, the more we're like, oh, we have to make sure we take care of this one small world. And understanding the universe in a bigger and broader way draws us together. The idea that there's the possibility of life elsewhere actually makes us more of a global community, because now we are Earthlings as opposed to Americans and Russians and Chinese and Iranians and Spanish and all the various things, right? We are now a global community as one, and everything I've talked about so far is bringing us to a more global community. My trips all over the world. I've been to 30 countries. I've met beautiful people everywhere, and when I treated them beautifully, they treated me beautifully in return. It has nothing to do with a border or a line or anything else. We're all in this life thing together. And scientific discoveries are showing us that we have one small planet for us to thrive on. And the only way we do that is working together. The only way we do that working together. And you're starting to see it working together. It's the ship is turning because we're making the changes. But until that ship gets all that front end bow around, it'll look like in some cases it's not happening. But it is absolutely happening, and you can see it if you look for it. But you have to be the one who looks for the positive outcomes. The things that I've talked about in this video itself, they're online. You can find all the stuff about cleaning up the trash in the oceans and creating these highways that collect sunlight. Creating cars with 1,000-mile electric range. You can find that all over the internet. The question is, are you afraid of the innovations? Are you afraid of and if that's the case, you can release that fear, because just look at what's happening. The global poverty level has gone down because of these changes. Everything's shifting towards a more global community, and that shift is starting to statistically show that it's working. And the people who are trying to stay in the old model are getting stuck in the old model. But the world is really is shifting to a more equal society globally. And in that shift, we're going to see an amazing change as the bow of our boat comes around. Number 9, there have been amazing innovations in agriculture. Now, I'm not talking about, the genetic alterations or anything. I'm talking about going back to grass-fed, to free range, you're finding these amazing advances in food and agriculture production are becoming more back to the way they were. The innovations are growing, and what's happening is because people are leaning in to cleaner food sources and more natural food sources. The humanity itself is leaning into these cleaner sources, What's happening is agricultural societies are shifting to meet the need of organic and free range, and you're finding more and more of advances in that direction. Healthier foods, healthier meats, healthier dietary supplements. A lot of people are, they have the pills and all that stuff, but you're finding some of them are just really creating this new direction that is more organic and more close to nature and more close to the original foods that we would have eaten prior to all of the advancements in massive food production that altered the food. Now we're getting organic foods coming up to the same levels as those mass-produced foods, and it's beautiful. We really are changing and having amazing innovations in how we can get back to our natural dietary choices. And that, to me, is one of the most amazing things for us to be excited about, because that also prolongs our life. It makes us healthier. It gives us the opportunity to share. Like some of the foods that we eat don't come from the regions we live in, but now we're finding they're creating more organically. They're creating more healthily, and it's happening all over the world. And so once again, that global environment, the advances in agriculture are happening everywhere, and they're changing. And some are changing faster than others, and some are not changing. But eventually, the movement in that direction, the whole world will change. The ship is turning. The ship is turning. Number 10, there is an increase in access to education all over the world. You look at, internet, and satellite internet. What's the Starlink? It can now reach everywhere in the world. It really is one of these situations where we're creating a world where the information is readily available. Now, most of you have a cell phone. That phone has more computing power than any of the Apollo rockets did, right? Any of the Apollo. You have more computing power in your pocket than the earliest computers than the earliest Macs, like the Macintosh when it came out in my lifetime. This computer here blows it away. This is my cell phone up here, but the computer beside me here, you know, years ago, to think that I would have a computer that had a terabyte of storage in it would have been insane. But those advances have now given us the ability to put education in people's hands, remote education. COVID hit. We didn't miss a year of school. We just shifted to virtual classrooms. Education became easier. Most students are now not just doing 4 year degrees; they're moving on and doing master's degrees, and they're advancing. When I want to do something in my shop or build something or figure out how something works, I go on YouTube. All of the education I'll ever need is there. Editing videos. I started seeing people shifting to DaVinci Resolve on YouTube. I switched over to DaVinci Resolve. It's such a better program than my old program, which was Adobe Premiere. It's easier to use. It puts out a better product in the end. But I didn't know how to use it. But I went on YouTube, and all of the education was right there, how to do YouTube. My video studio here, I'm not a technical person. If you saw this video studio, you would be just blown away with the technology in this room. I mean, there are cameras everywhere. I can sit here right now, and I can zoom in on myself, and I can look down on myself, look at Jesus. All of these things are all available because I have one on YouTube, and I figured out how to make these things work. I have a Stream Deck. I have a Wave XLR. I've got machines here. On this table alone, I got 2 laptops. I get 1 laptop and 2 iPads so that I can do live streams effectively. I've got lighting. I knew none of this, but the education was available to me on YouTube. So the education is everywhere. We can change our world. There are things that I would never have been able to do without the available YouTube videos. I'm out there working on my Jeep. I open up my phone, I go on YouTube, and I find the thing that I'm doing, and it guides me through how to fix it. Education is available everywhere, and people are gaining access to it. And you're finding these people who are just saying, this information is not only available, but I'm empowering myself. I'm taking avail of this ability to educate myself and improve their lives and contribute to a greater global society. So the increase in education is absolutely an amazing thing to be excited about. Now, you look at these 10 things I've just talked about. These 10 things I've just talked about, not including the changes I saw and the idea that the world is predominantly positive, but you look at just these 10 things. Just these 10 things are reason enough to believe there's a bright future ahead of us. Just these 10 things are reason enough for us to be excited about our future. Just these 10 things are the reason enough for us to be the change we want to see in the world that is already happening, but be a part of that beautiful change into a more joyful, more loving, more caring world, a more inclusive world, a more equal world, and empowering others to step in. People who feel like they've been left behind, let's empower them with these 10 basic things to believe in, and let's help them get the education they need, get the desire to grow something greater. Even if it's just like I said, the education off of YouTube, that's enough. You can create anything in your world, and when people know they can, or people believe they can, or are focused on being able to, we can change the world for the better. And that is what this whole video is about, is changing the world for the better, recognizing that the good things that are already happening, and then allowing ourselves to feel good about it and get excited about it and put our faith in it and believe the world is turning for the better, because that's how we change the world. One person at a time, believing the world is getting better. One person at a time changing, and then start being able to demonstrate to the world why things are getting better so that those people can believe it. And then just like that old shampoo commercial, they'll tell 2 friends and they'll tell 2 friends and so on and so on and so on. And the world will change, and our whole global environment will come together as one. And when the aliens come from somewhere else, they'll arrive here and they'll see a beautiful, loving, caring world. And they'll say, these people are all right. We like this people. Instead of seeing us fighting and arguing and dropping bombs and attacking each other, they'll see a beautiful world. And that's the future that I see coming. The ship is turning. The ship is turning. The turn has already started. And as that bow comes around, the future is getting brighter. The horizon's getting more beautiful. And we're seeing this beautiful outcome coming closer and closer and closer. But the ship is turning, and we're already doing it. Feel good about the future. Feel happy about a bright future, because it's on its way. You guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. See ya. Bye.